Hey everybody, Rex Bear Leak Project, stand by, getting ready to go live. All right, cool. Fantastic, super exciting. We're going to talk about a global conspiracy involving deliberately altered biblical texts concerning Genesis. A description of tonight's guest is Sigan. Traino began as a Gnostic of the Kabbalistic lesser and greater priesthoods while utilizing ceremonial, Hebraic, Kabbalah, and Japanese. How do you pronounce that word?
Onmyodo.
Thank you. Interest in magical energy drew towards the ordinances and rites of paganism from certain cultures worldwide, and then later adopted the pagan faith, including Italian, something from Italy. How do you pronounce that again? It's got a few words here, folks, and I'm just having a tough time with it.
Stregeria.
Thank you very much. And Celtic Druidry. As you guys know, I can barely speak English sometimes, so I'm doing my best. Now, combining the art form of Hebraic Kabbalah, Greco-Roman Gnostic wisdom with the ideas and freedom of paganism, went to develop something unique, yet authentic and complete, an approach of the old religion and natural law. He began constituting unique Hermetic order to create a universal understanding in expanding the collective or sublime consciousness. The true order of light denotes law of nature, demonstrating one's own sovereignty through sacred ceremony as we walk through the golden path and utilize the silver will. So thank you so much for coming on the show here at the Leak Project. Just an honor to speak with you. I've been to your YouTube channel. You've got some great information on there, and you seem very, very deep. I mean, a lot of people know a little bit about some of this stuff, but it seems to me like this, you've been practicing this for a long time of your life anyway.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So as you know, the King James Bible was translated very quickly because it had to be finished for King James' birthday. There was a lot of things that were, rushed in that, and some things that were deliberately changed regarding a world that existed before Adam and Eve, which is the big one, which is what I'll go into.
Yeah, that'd be great. So you've really been digging deep into religion and the underpinnings of our origins for your whole life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And when did you really, what was the magic moment for you that just kind of made you realize most of what people are taught is absolutely fabricated?
Oh, when I found the missing verse between the first and second verses of Genesis, and I found that when I studied Hebrew, that's what really changed it for me, because I found that the words like, for instance, God and stuff like that in the Bible is usually written as Elohim, and Elohim is another word for Anunnaki, which is a god or a goddess or someone who came from another planet to this earth. And in fact, it rarely mentions God at all. It mentions God a few times, like God with a capital G, which is El Elyon, God the Most High, or God, goddess. It's not gender specified. And that's another thing with the Hebrew text. They're not gender specified unless they are specified according to the situation or what it's talking about. So it's easy to know a lot of the time if it's, a lord or if it's a lady. But a lot of the times it's either androgynous or it's not really known whether it's talking about a male or female. It just means God and goddess. So that's when I wanted to know the origin of the Hebrew. So then I went to the Sumerian, and that's when I started to find the parallels and begin with that missing verse. So.
Yeah, let's get into the missing verse. This sounds exciting.
Mm-hmm. All right. So in Genesis, we'll just take the King James Bible here because it's most common and anyone can look at it. So if anyone's got a Bible with them, they can pull it out and have a look. So, okay, Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. So doesn't say that. It says in the beginning, Elohim, okay? So the Anunnaki created the heavens and the earth, meaning that they're terraforming the planet, all right? So, yeah, and then it says, second verse, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. So first it says that the earth was created, and then it says that the earth had no form. So if we go to Jeremiah chapter 4, and look at verse 23, we get that missing section, okay? So verse 23 says, I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, they had no light. So if you look at 22, which is the language of Jeremiah, right? The verse above that, if you listen to the language that is very different. Okay, so it says, so Jeremiah speaks very differently. He says, for my people is foolish, they have not known me, they are Asadi's children, they have none understanding, they are wise to do evil but to do good, they have no knowledge. And then the next verse, I beheld the earth, and lo, and it was without form and void, and the heavens, they had no light. See, that's Moses talking. So yeah, it's completely different. So if you go back to Genesis, this is how it should sound. In the beginning, the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens, they had no light. I beheld the mountains, and lo, they trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. I beheld, and lo, there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens were fled. What people? What man? What birds? There wasn't meant to be any birds, you see. I beheld, and lo, the fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities thereof were broken down at the presence of the Lord, which is Adonai, and by his fierce anger. So what cities? For thus hath the Lord Adonai said, the whole land shall be desolate, yet will I not make a full end. So yeah, lucky for that last part. So yeah, and then we go back and start from the second, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim, in the King James says God, but it's Elohim, and the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. Yeah, and God said, let there be light. So the Elohim said, so that's actually that's the entire chunk that is taken out, which obviously talks about Atlantis.
Now, which scripture is that in then? You said it's taken out, so you're looking at it from the original Hebrew?
Yeah, the original Hebrew. And this has been a debate with biblical scholars for a very long time. I mean, it still hasn't been changed yet. So that was a long time ago, and it just amazes me. And in the 90s, it was discussed again, and it's just been swept under the rug. Yeah, it really needs to be changed, because it shows that there was a civilization that existed before. So that's the first Adam. In the Sumerian tablets, we know that there was a first Adam that was created before the flooding of Atlantis, because at that time, the humans on the planet, they rose to a place of great heights in technology and spiritual awareness and all aspects of life. And then they got an idea that, they could, they realized that they could, go to other planets, and they started to build rockets. And, obviously they were taught all this by the Elohim at the time, by the Anunnaki. Atlantis, which was Enki's city, Neptune, who was also Poseidon, and in Egypt he was called Ptah. And, Shiv in Hindu. So that was his city, and he was much more, I guess, lenient on humans. He kind of gave them what they wanted, and he was very good in that way. And a lot of the times, Jupiter, who's Enlil, his brother, was much more strict. He said that if you give humans too much, they start wanting more, and so which is what actually happened. And they were very, very powerful beings, very, very powerful, but they had more freedom of thought. The Anunnaki are very set in their ways, in a way that they think they have an understanding of the way the universe works, and they very rarely, sway from that. They have an understanding, whereas humans would always want to push things to the limit, whereas the Anunnaki have an understanding because they've got the experience. So humans were like, how do you say it? A great intelligence, but yet very young at the same time, lacking in experience. So they started going to other planets, and there was a few issues, and then that's where Enlil, Jupiter or Zeus, said that's the end. This is the end, because it was disrupting the balance. So that's what happened there. So,
Let me jump in real quick. You brought up Jupiter and Enlil.
Same person.
Enlil was definitely the, militarized deity, god, demigod talked about in the Sumerian tablets. Reading through many stories when Inanna or somebody else would go ask for Enlil's help, Enlil was like, nope. But Enki would be like, all right, here you go. So it seemed like, Enki seemed to have more compassion for not only other people a part of those dynasties, but also the humans as well. And you're saying that when you say Enlil is Jupiter, is Jupiter the actual archetype? Or are you referring to Jupiter from the Roman gods' time, but not the actual planet, or are they all the same? Is there an actual archetype energy from Jupiter that's linked as a demigod?
Absolutely, it is an archetype. Yeah. So there's the planet, but I'm talking about Enlil as in the physical being, who is Jupiter, Zeus. So Jupiter is the king of the Council of 12, which govern this planet and this solar system and many other worlds. Yeah, he's the person who, I suppose a lot of people pray to their heavenly father. The image of a man with a beard is really Enlil, is really Jupiter. That's where it comes from. It comes from the artists of in the old days that drew these pictures. They understood the true meaning of what the Bible was talking about. So they, especially in the Renaissance, they drew a lot of artwork, all over especially in the Vatican and stuff. It's full of pagan, Roman, and Greek gods and goddesses everywhere.
Let's talk about that a little bit. The Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians and the Hindu philosophy, the pagan philosophy. So many different cultures had so many different gods that they would either worship or put energy into, different deities, higher gods, lesser gods, etc. The Sumerians had the higher gods that they really looked up to as very high level archetypes.
There's only one story taking place here. There's one Godhead. The Anunnaki are the same gods in every single religion. People say, oh, there's these gods, that gods. No, there's only one family of gods. That's it. There's other races from different constellations and things like that. But as far as our religion is concerned, and all of the deities from all the religions, there's the same group of deities. It goes back to the Sumerian tablets. So they're all the same. The Vedic gods, the Roman, the Greek. You had a completely different Earth with a completely different sky, different planetary alignment. And then you had the Matrix world, which was created after that, which we have today, which still exists. So, yeah, the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and all that, it's all based, a lot of the symbolism is based on this cosmism symbolism. Yeah, so it's basically telling us that we need to understand the way that the universe works. We need to leave room for possible migrations because, things like this can happen. And that's why it's very important to take notice of the stars. And I guess for me, my true religion, I have a belief and, I'm a what you can call a Gnostic pagan. But my true religion is cosmism. It's the stars, because without anything, let's say you take the gods out of the equation, the gods and goddesses, and it's just you and the universe, and the stars. So cosmism is that understanding of cycles and what we can do in preparation for future generations by starting right now, looking at past events and seeing what had happened and learning from those things, knowing that we're all part of the cosmos. We're people obsessed with space, but we're in space. We're all part of space. Space is all that there is. So that is the one of the most important things to understand. And this story really tells us, and what the Kabbalah, I'm not talking about the spiritual teachings and how you can better yourself as a person. That's one aspect of the Kabbalah. I'm talking about the understanding of planetary movements and energies and things like that. Because if you can understand them, then you can choose your time and place very carefully when you do things, and you can be more successful at it. I guess in the community and in society adopted these values, we could have such a much more harmonious society. So that's what cosmism is. It's not a religion based on any particular gods or anything. It's the understanding of the universe as God. We live in the universe that, we understand that that's a very real force, and we're all bound by it. Doesn't matter how powerful you are. We're all bound by the spheres, you see?
It's fascinating indeed. You're bringing up a lot of great points.